Developing news right now, WikiLeaks now back online under a different internet provider after being booted overnight, and calls are growing now for the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, to be arrested.
We believe it fits the terms of the espionage statute and that they should move ahead and prosecute. It's incomprehensible to me that a PFC can be doing all these things and not have supervision, not having a supervising officer standing over him. And that's a real problem.
Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. So Dianne Feinstein, senator, saying, look, there's no way that Bradley Manning, this one low guy, lower class guy, and I don't mean that in economic reasons, but lower on the totem pole.
The lowest entry level that the military has, what we used to call a buck private. It's hard to believe. The government says he did this alone. It's hard to believe that a buck private, A, would have access to documents of this nature, not only military secrets, but diplomatic cables. B, would have access to literally millions of pages. C, could have downloaded and passed on to others who don't have a national security clearance all these documents without somebody knowing about it. So the government must bear some culpability here for giving him that access, or there are others in the chain of command involved with him or formerly involved with him. He's now in a military prison, who have not yet been identified and who are responsible along with him for passing this information on.
Okay, so you have Senator Feinstein, who is a Democrat, who's saying, look, we need to arrest this guy and use that law based on 1917, espionage.
When she says arrest this guy, she means Julian Assange, because Bradley Manning, the buck private, is already arrested. The law was written in 1917, the espionage law. It has been tempered and interpreted many, many times, most recently by the Supreme Court to state the following. The thief, in this case the government says Bradley Manning, whoever violates the national security clearance, whoever physically takes the document from the government's possession and hands it to somebody in the media, commits a crime and ought to be prosecuted. The person in the media who publishes the document, as long as the document is of public interest, cannot be prosecuted and cannot be sued.
Under the espionage law? Under
any law, because the Supreme Court has interpreted the First Amendment to be the press. You and me are the eyes and ears of America.
So what can they prosecute Julian Assange with? What law?
Nothing.
And you actually agree with that?
I do agree with that. I do agree with that for this reason. The government has not said these documents are phony. The government has not said these documents are untruthful. The government concedes that he exposed the truth.
Yeah, but what about national security?
No one has been harmed by this. Even Bob Gates, the Secretary of Defense, said, surprisingly but happily, nobody's been harmed by any of this.
Well, we don't know that for sure. In the first document dump, they exposed 100 private identities of people in Afghanistan and Iraq who were helping us in the war on the Taliban.
I've spent a lot of time interviewing these people, on air and off, including a recent conversation with his lawyer, which is Julian Assange's lawyer. They maintain they have bent over backwards to protect the identities of those who might be harmed. This last dump, in my opinion, is an embarrassment to the State Department, but it shouldn't be. We all know that diplomats say different things than what they mean.
Right.
I mean, Winston Churchill used to say, the fine art of diplomacy is not saying yes or no, it's saying yes and no. That's what these guys do.
So you would agree with President Obama's spokesperson, Robert Gibbs, who on this show earlier this week said, let's not be afraid of a guy who spends $35 on a laptop. There's no way we should be afraid of this Julian Assange.
I wouldn't put it the way he did. I would say it's good for us to know the truth. And what journalist, if this stuff dropped in his or her lap, wouldn't expose it?
Very interesting. Judge Andrew Napolitano, we can catch your show, Freedom Watch, on the Fox Business Network.
Newt Gingrich tonight. He and I are going to go toe-to-toe on this very topic.
You certainly are. All right, have a great weekend.
You too.